Recently, Nigel Farage tweeted that Britain is broken. And boy oh boy, the replies from that tweet have almost broken Nigel himself. Well, not literally, but you get what I mean. In this video, we will take a look back at some of Farage's claims, as well as the interviews and statements he's made about Britain leaving the EU. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the replies to the three-word twit. And the first reply says, well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions. Another replied, yes. And it breaks the heart of this American to see this happen. You're our cousin after all, and I do not want family hurt. But, much like America, it's self-inflicted. I don't know what he's referring to there. Next reply, £40 billion a year in lost tax revenue due to Brexit. So I guess there is some connection to this due to your lies. And here's one from Femi, who, by the way, is a Remainer. He says off, you pop then, which is in reference to Farage once saying he will leave Britain if Brexit is a disaster. Guess Farage needs to reapply for that German passport then. And someone else said, mainly because of you and your Vote Leave cohorts who unwittingly conspired to ditch UK's biggest trading partner just prior to a global pandemic. You own this. You see, I disagree with the last part of his statement, as no one could have predicted a global pandemic after Brexit. I also spent some time trying to read these replies to find anything, or at least someone, that has anything positive about his tweet, but I struggle. And another, your life's work is done. And finally, this one makes me crack up. Don't go taking all the credit now. There was a fair few of you involved in the downfall. Let's now take a look back at Farage's statements about Brexit.
Remember is that the British Chambers of Commerce was so Remain in the referendum, they even sacked their boss, John Longworth, because he dared to think we might be better off out. So I'll just put that in to begin with. However, they have a good point. Because the oven-ready, do you remember that? The oven-ready deal, it's all going to be marvellous. I've signed the best free trade deal you've ever seen. Well, there may be no quotas, there may be no tariffs, but there are all sorts of extra customs checks. There is erratic behaviour with the French, which I think is quite willful. So there are a lot of companies who are feeling some downside.
What is this guy talking about? Extra custom checks? Well, wasn't this spelt out during the Remain campaign? Is he expecting the French not to do the additional checks now that we're considered a third world country?
Sick behaviour with the French, which I think is quite willful. So there are a lot of companies who are feeling some downside. But that could have been more than compensated by the British government over the course of the last few years, making legislation simpler, streamlining it, removing the unnecessary stuff. And guess what? With an 80-seat majority, the Tories have done nothing. And frankly, in economic terms, business isn't feeling the benefit that it could. There are some firms who are finding global trade easier than it was before. But for most companies, they're saying, look, this was our chance to get a British government on the side of British business, and they've done nothing. And so what you've got is, let's be honest about it, there's a growing sense of disenchantment with Brexit, not because of Brexit itself, because of the absolute failure of this Conservative government to deliver.
And there you have it. We will blame anything but the mess we created and the lies we spouted out during the Leave campaign. However, I do agree with him on something. The Conservative government have made a hash out of all of this. I mean, we don't even have a proper government as it keeps changing almost every 6 months. Classic. Admit to a lie when caught out and spout out more lies.
Yes, of our own country.
As we have
and
done.
by the way, reach out to a bigger world than Europe, because that's
Global Britain.
that is what is so
Britain.
exciting about
Is
Brexit.
this global Britain?
There are over 20 countries are now
Is the
queuing
first
up
step of a global Britain to come out of the biggest market in the world? How does that make any sense?
Because we're having to pay a net £10 billion a year to be part of a market that over-regulates our industries and makes us less competitive. We're taking back control. It's great.
God, we're losing control.
Why are you so
Britain.
miserable? We're getting back our independence. It's great.
I am not miserable. I am genuinely worried.
We're a great country,
we have
aren't
committed,
we?
and you have helped bring about an act of economic and political suicide, and that we are going to go into rapid decline.
How is it political suicide
and more
to make
people
your
are
own
thinking
laws
that,
in your own country?
Or
do you loathe democracy so much?
Ding, ding.
No, this point's fundamental.
Democracy?
What is wrong with running? What is wrong with running your own country?
Let me ask you this about democracy.
Should we be self-governing?
When are you people, when are
Should we
you
be
and
self-governing?
Johnson and Gove going to be held to account for the pack of lies you told? Are we going to stay in the customs union or not?
No,
Right. And did Boris Johnson say we would?
No.
Yes, he did. £350 million for the rail service. Are we going to get it or not? Are we going to get it or not?
Shall I tell you what the biggest lie is?
£350 million. Are we going to get it or not?
You told us it was a common market, it was about trade,
1974?
and not to worry our little heads. 50 years of lies. 50 years of lies.
50 years of
and we've now redressed the balance.
Prosperity,
and we're now getting our independence back, our pride back, our self-respect back. We're going to be a proper nation.
Sorry, we're going to be a laughing stock.
Let's celebrate. I'll buy you lunch.
No, I don't want
celebrate.
Lunch. I don't want lunch, because lunch to me would be a waste of time when I can spend my time trying to stop this madness.
You're not going to stop it. It's all over.
Well, I don't agree with you.
It's done.
Listen, did you give up in 1974? Has Nicola Sturgeon given up? Did Barcelona give up when they did 3 goals in 5 minutes?
Look, and what we've left is
falling
to pieces.
When people realise their jobs,
the Euro's a catastrophe. The migrant crisis is ripping it to bits.
Don't worry.
We're on a lifeboat. We've left the Titanic. We're in a lifeboat. We're in a great spot.
There's actually no doubt that there are a lot of people in this country who are slightly having the collie wobbles. They're beginning to buy in to a lot of this kind of
Nigel
stuff.
says that actually the polls show completely
the opposite. There has been a big shift, Piers. There's been a big shift.
Nonsense. Oh my
2 reasons. One, there are people in this country who are genuine
Fake
Democrats and they accept the result and say, not here, obviously, and they say get on with it. But secondly, people are realising we were told a complete pack of lies that, it would be disastrous for our economy.
people on both
and now we're
sides say
seeing,
that.
It is a disaster
that
for our economy.
actually, it's the best thing that's happened
it's
to us
not.
in a generation.
What have the CBI
and we've
said?
got the
What
chance.
have the Employers' Federation
And we've got the
said today?
chance. Well, the CBI, of course, like you, wanted to join the euro. They were wrong then and they're wrong now.
What did the Employers'
And that is true. I remember that.
Absolutely.
I remember every leading financial
and the exchange rate
figure
mechanism
in
for
Britain
it.
telling me
Yeah,
if we
we're
don't
not
join
in the
euro,
euro.
it will be catastrophe.
All
and
wrong.
we didn't,
No.
and it wasn't.
You go and find...
God,
Go on, Susanna.
All right. I just want, for instance, on immigration.
Yeah.
Theresa May does not do on immigration what you want her to do. Won't it have failed from your point of view
Well,
as
look,
well?
what I think is going to happen is this. We're triggering Article 50. It's a big moment. We're leaving. However, the terms on which we leave, whether we get the right deal on immigration...
Well, wouldn't you like to have another vote on that? I mean, obviously not you, because
He wants another vote if we won. He wants another vote if we won.
I think what will happen is probably the next 2 or 3 general elections will be absolutely dominated by the implications of Brexit, immigration being at the top, fisheries being important. There are many things to sort out.
What about the economy?
Well,
that's quite important.
Yeah, we're going global. We're going global.
We've got
lots to look forward to.
Global.
And we're leaving a Eurozone.
That same phrase, we are taking back control. I can't see any control we've taken back so far. Businesses are complaining about the additional headache they have to go through to ship to Europe. It is getting disastrous for our economy if we continue down this track. Leave a comment below. I would like to know what we've gained so far from Brexit. Have we really taken back control of our borders? And this final clip.
I will go and live abroad. I'll go and live somewhere. If Brexit is a disaster, I will go and live abroad. I'll go and live somewhere.